Hey everyone, Simon here with Top Tennis Training, and in this video I'm going to show you how to hit perfect topspin on your one-handed backhand. Now many players, they struggle in producing that heavy topspin on their backhand. They know that they want more spin, they're trying to achieve it, but they don't know how to go around actually producing that heavy spin on a consistent basis. Now before we get any deeper into the video, if you're serious about improving your game, then make sure you have subscribed to the channel and you turn on that notification bell. Now it all starts with your grip. So the foundation of any swing is the way you hold the racket. So a lot of players, they'll say to us, I'm struggling in producing more topspin on my one-handed backhand. And then you'll see them hitting a few shots and they've got a continental or even an Eastern forehand grip. So they're trying to produce spin, but with this grip that is better suited to hitting a slice. So if you're someone who's using a continental grip or even an Eastern forehand grip on your backhand wing, it's going to be very hard for you to actually produce that low to high swing path and brush the ball, which is crucial in creating that topspin. Now as you'll see later on in the video, it's very important how the wrist is when we make contact, and also how we actually finish with our forearm. Now if I actually show you the mechanics of a one-handed backhand when you have the Eastern backhand grip, so the Eastern backhand grip is very easy for you to find. All you do is place your racket out like this, so you're placing it away from your body, and grab the top bevel, so the index knuckle, this is your index knuckle right here, this will then be on bevel number 1, which is the top bevel. So if I put my hand like this and I put my index knuckle on this side of the racket and I slide it down onto the grip, now I have my index knuckle on this top bevel in line with the side of the racket. This is the Eastern backhand grip. Very easy for you to find, and this will be the most stable way for you to hit that one-handed backhand. Now if I put my racket out at where I want to make contact, so my ideal contact point, if I have the Eastern backhand grip, you'll see that my wrist is neutral. So it isn't flexed in either direction. It's in that neutral position, and this is a very stable position for my wrist to be when I'm making contact. If someone's trying to push my racket here, I have a lot of stability in that hand and I feel very strong when I'm in that contact point. Now if I now change over to that continental grip, you'll see that to keep my strings in that flat position, my wrist now has to go into this back position. So it's bending and it's very unstable. If someone is to come and push my racket now, I have a lot of stress on the wrist, and eventually over time, if I keep hitting backhands like this, probably I'm going to end up injuring my wrist. So if you are someone who's using that continental grip on your backhand, you might still produce a bit of spin. Some of these techniques will still help you, but it will always be a very limited amount of spin, and you'll struggle to have that spin mixed with power because of the angle of the strings and because of the way you have to then position your hand to actually make contact in a clean way. So if you have that Eastern backhand grip, you're now ready to move on to step 2, which is the low to high swing path, brushing the ball. So spin is produced by brushing the back of the ball. Now if we imagine this ball to be a clock, we have 6 o'clock at the bottom, 12 o'clock at the top. When we want more topspin, we want to feel that we're brushing the ball from below the ball level. So if I'm making contact here, my racket face should be below that ball level. So it's coming from 6 o'clock and it's going up. Now there'll be some slight differences when you're going cross court versus down the line. If you're going cross court, you might go from 7 o'clock to 1 o'clock, so upwards and across the ball. And if you're going down the line, you'll be going from 6 to 12. But we still want to feel that we're brushing the ball either direction. So that brush is what will allow us to actually produce that topspin along with the net clearance. Now I can get topspin by doing this. So that's topspin, but the ball then bounces into the ground and there's no way I'm going to be hitting it over the net. But that low to high swing path, so that 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock as we make contact, will help us to produce the topspin, but also the net clearance and have the ball traveling in the right direction. So anything that will allow you to brush that ball when you're making contact will help you to get more topspin. And there are a few tricks that you can use to get more spin and really brush the ball, and we'll cover them right now. Now before we get any deeper into the lesson, I just want to mention that we have a free backhand guide to the one-handed backhand. So this is the fundamentals of learning a good solid one-handed backhand. Now that's a free guide, you can download it right away. All you have to do is click on the link under this video that will take you to our website. You simply enter your email address and we'll send you that free guide straight away. So the contact point on that one-handed backhand. If I'm hitting a flatter shot, my racket's going to be traveling more on the same line as that ball, so a more linear path. I'm traveling through that contact point and I'm extending towards my target. But when we want more spin, it's going from low to high. So we're brushing the ball, and a simple way for you to increase that brush at the point of contact is to use this trick. So when I'm making contact, if I have my Eastern backhand grip, my hand will be in this position. So the palm, if I open the palm now, you'll see it's facing the ground. So as I grip the racket, my palm is facing the ground in this position. So I'm making contact with my knuckles facing the sky. Now from this position, if I simply supinate my forearm, so I turn my forearm from this palm down position to the palm up position, now you'll see what happens to my racket once I add my hand. So from here, I'm now going supinating. And as you can see, the racket is now traveling up and across the ball. So as I make contact, if I'm in this position here, and then I simply supinate the forearm, so I allow my forearm to go from that closed position, palm is facing the ground, to palm up. Palm down, palm up. Now I add the racket, palm down, palm up. Palm down, palm up. You can see how it's producing that upward swing path. So my racket's making contact, and this is really helpful on those higher balls where you don't want to brush from low to high as much, but you want to brush across the ball and up at the same time. So if I'm hitting the ball around shoulder level, I don't really want to be going from this low to high and finishing above my head. I want to be still producing power, still going aggressive with that swing, and this is a very simple way for you to do this. You're making contact with your palm facing the ground, and now you're brushing the ball by turning the forearm. Now if you think about the serve and we think about pronation, so pronation is where we're turning the palm towards the ball and then turning the palm away like so. So it's the opposite action of that. So I'm making contact and I'm turning the palm up and I'm allowing my hand to then be free to open up to the sky. Now this is very simple, but it's a very effective way for you instantly to get more topspin on that backhand. So from this position, I'm simply opening the palm, and you can already see the spin is being produced. And the next step is using our legs to get a little bit more of that low to high swing and to get that ground force into the shot. Now if I don't use my legs, if I simply set up for my one-handed backhand and I just use my arm, I can still produce spin, but it won't have that same bite, that same aggressive topspin with the power and also my body weight going into the shot as if I use my legs. Getting into my power position, and then I step forward with this right leg, as I'm stepping forward, I now want my body weight around 80% on my back leg. Now this is crucial in having that weight transfer on that one-handed backhand. I'm lifting the toes on my front foot, so this will allow me to have that heel to toe motion. So if I lift the toes up, it's hard for me to have body weight on my front foot too early. So this is very helpful in having the body weight on the back leg. This is the same on the serve. If I'm starting the serve with the front foot by lifting up, something that we saw Pete Sampras do in that position, now it's very hard for him to have his body weight on the front foot. It's around 80% on the back foot. This is the same on that one-hander. By going heel first, I'm now putting my body weight on that back leg. So power position, my toes are off the ground on that front foot, which will put the body weight on the back foot. And from here, I can now start that drop with the racket. And at the same time I'm dropping, I'm transferring the body weight. So I'm dropping and transferring. Now, all this time, I'm still imagining that my racket is coming from below the ball level. So if I'm making contact here, my racket has to be below that point of contact. And a common error that players will do is they'll say, oh, my racket's below the ball. But that's when the ball has risen up, it's at the peak, and then it starts to drop. So it's not important to get the racket below the ball flight, but it's important to get the racket below the point of contact. So wherever you're making contact, that racket has to be below that point. And I'm loading up on both legs. I'm using both legs to almost sit in that imaginary chair. So from the back, it's going to be like this. I'm loading up, I'm stepping forward, and then I can lift up as I make contact. So I'm doing that weight transfer, and I'm still lifting up with my body. This down and up motion with the legs will help you to have that low to high swing with the racket. If I simply just go from this position, go down and up, I'm already producing that low to high swing, and once I add the full swing and the power, then you'll see how I can produce that heavy topspin. So it's coming back to this loading off the legs and coming up, loading off the legs and coming up. So now I'm using the legs, I'm using the forearm supinating around the point of contact, I'm using that low to high swing path, but all of this won't work and I won't have that heavy topspin unless I have good racket head speed. So it all starts with my technique. Now when players want to produce more topspin, a lot of times they go straight into this drop position. So the racket head and the grip is level. Now from here, the space to the contact point is very limited. They only have a couple of feet. So what happens is players then start to cheat by going behind their back, behind their left hip, in order to produce that space to accelerate. So we need space to accelerate the racket, but it's all about creating that space in the most energy efficient way and the most effective way. So as soon as I go here and I start swinging this way, my racket now travels on that more linear swing path, so it's harder for me to produce that spin. This is why you'll see players like Gasquet, Tommy Robredo, Tommy Haas, Roger Federer and Stan Wawrinka, they all reach a very similar power position where the racket head is higher than the grip. So they're in this position and you might think, well, that's counterintuitive if you're thinking about producing spin, because now you're going from a high position into that contact point. But what happens is they start in this high position, they then have the racket drop, the racket then travels below the ball level, they're then brushing up. So they're producing racket head speed all the way from the start of their swing they're still producing it, and now they let it go. So they're building that racket head speed through that entire swing, and then it becomes a circular swing. Instead of a linear swing just back and forward, it's now up, down, and up again. So it's that massive loop on the side of their body. So once again, the racket is up, it's coming above the grip level, which creates that leverage in the hand and the racket head. So leverage is basically force over the ball. They also now have the space to accelerate. So my racket from here to the point of contact is traveling a good 6 or 8 feet. So I'm going from this position, I'm now dropping the racket, I'm now making contact out in front, I'm using the legs at the same time, and then finally I'll have the forearm supinating over, which produces that low to high swing during the point of contact. If I can add all of these things together and I can put it into that one stroke, you'll see a massive difference in your power and your topspin on that one-handed backhand. So go out there and work on those things. Don't expect to master every element at one go. So maybe the first couple of days where you're hitting these backhands, just focus on that finish. Focus on having the strings facing the net when you're making contact, your palm is facing the ground, and then palm is facing the sky. If that's the only thing you master in the next couple of weeks, you'll see a difference in your spin rate right away. The next thing is then working on that low to high swing. So doing this, but along with coming below that ball level. Then we're going to add the legs. So the next couple of weeks you might work on just that leg loading, back leg, front leg, and coming up. And finally the swing. So making sure you maximize your swing on the one-handed backhand. Now if you enjoyed this video, click that like button, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you turn on the notification bell. Share this video with anyone who would benefit from watching it. This could be your tennis friends or someone in your family. And also leave a comment down below. What kind of lessons do you want to see from us in the near future? We'll try and film the top comments from each video that we get. Signing off, Simon from TTT. All the best and see you soon, guys. Stay safe.